is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing our top 10 anticipated games of 2021. So first off, this one should be going up on New Year's Day, so Happy New Year, and let's hope that 2021 isn't a dog shit year like 2020 was, but we will see. At least we can take solace in the fact that there are at least up to 20 games that we are hoping are very good and that we are extremely excited for. Now, this year, we're doing 10, but this is actually part one of kind of a two-part series. Brad and I are then going to do a separate video where we just talk about all the other games that we're excited for, because I had a little over 60 anticipated games for 2021.
Yeah, I had quite a few as well.
But those are including expansions. Now, for your 10, did you include expansions?
Maybe one.
Okay.
I generally had enough full games that it was pretty simple.
Right. For the entire thing, I also included expansions. Once again, I ranked these off of PubMeeple, and most of the time an expansion didn't really get any higher than, they most likely didn't make the top 10, just because I'm more excited for full games than I am for expansions.
Right.
Yeah. Without further ado, as always, we start with an honorable mention. So let's go ahead and start with mine at number 11, which should be Sorcerer, Endbringer. Now, I guess I contradict myself because this is technically an expansion, but not really. And it justifies it because this is really a cooperative solo campaign that is from Sorcerer. And I mean, if you've seen our discussions before and our run-throughs, in my run-through and discussion for Sorcerer, you know that we very much like this game. I think it is a phenomenal, 1v1 kind of area control smash-up-esque in a dark fantasy world. For them to incorporate a campaign that actually makes it either playable solo or cooperatively, I mean, that's just, of course, I'm going to be excited for this. I backed this as soon as it went up on Kickstarter, and this is where they didn't release as much like mages or I always forget what they're called, like the as much
domains
of
and all that stuff,
and lineage. Yeah, I expected there to be a lot more, but I believe there's 2 of each, maybe 3 of each.
The reason I think they did that is because there is so many with the original box.
Yeah.
And then they're focusing so much on the Endbringers, which have that same deck construction itself, that I think is just easier to do that way, I think.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about the actual enemies that are coming into the game. Of course, you have to have people that you fight against. So I'm very excited to see what they do. I mean, this is White Wizard Games, so they do a pretty decent job with their campaigns with Hero Realms. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking or anything, but they're fun. So I would imagine with this being like same company, I think the campaign will be pretty sweet. So honorable mention, Sorcerer, Endbringer.
All right. My honorable mention, I couldn't find my list from last year to make sure, because maybe this one was on last year's list as well.
Oh, yeah, I have a few of those as well.
Sniper Elite, the board game.
Okay.
This is based on it's a video game IP.
Yep.
And what is cool about it is you can play it solo, obviously. That's one of the big aspects of it. Right. And but it's got a lot of hidden movement. You're sneaking around, you're picking people off, you're trying to complete missions. And I like sniping in video games and stuff, so I like being able to sneak around trying to get your line of sight in there and pick off a couple of people before you get in there. There isn't a ton of information on this. I mean, you could search and find some stuff, but it's scenario based, you know, and it's just one of those that I've always enjoyed playing the video games, and I just want to see how it translates to the board.
Yeah, I think the Dice Tower did a run through when this was on Kickstarter, so you can kind of see how it plays, and it looked interesting. And before I backed it, I was like, you know what? I have Game Pass for Xbox, so I'll one of those was on there, so I'll download it and play it. And I do not like these games.
Really?
Like, yeah, they just don't do it for me. They always feel kind of clunky. I mean, it is kind of neat with the X-ray like kill. Whenever you shoot them, it shows like, you know, the damage from the bullet and the
right.
But I mean, I like sniping, but I don't like only sniping. But this will probably be. I think this will do pretty well. At least it's not Steamforged doing another IP.
Exactly.
It's I don't even know who the company is.
It was I had it. I can't really read the box. It's Rebellion Unplugged.
Okay.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's a first time, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's taking so long to come out. I think it's
they've done nothing.
They're working on, you know, they don't have their production lines really solidified like some of these companies. So I think it's just taking longer to produce.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope they do good. IPs, those are always either, hey, wow, this is amazing, or, yep, okay, of course, another gimmick, you know,
exactly.
way they use the IP to sell copies. But a new company, I don't know. I think they might actually I mean, they have another game, I guess, in the works, 2000 AD, but once again, no idea.
All right.
But I believe the Dice Tower ended up enjoying it. So, yep, it's a game.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, something to look forward to. All right.
Sure.
So you're number 10.
Yep, my number 10 has actually been reworked with the name. It used to be
Time of Legends.
Time of Legends, Destinies, but now I think they just got rid of that whatever that's called, moniker, I don't think. But yeah, Destinies is my number 10. And what I did actually for this list, which is more than I do for actually quite a lot of lists, mainly for the anticipated I do it for, is each game comes out, if I like distinctly remember, then I'm like, cool, but I'll actually, I'm like, what was that game about and why did I back it? I'll look it up. And I forgot that this one was a kind of a deduction campaign game, but it was competitive.
Yeah.
And it was set in that Joan of Arc medieval fantasy world.
Mm-hmm.
So where a lot of these games are actually, you know, they're mainly cooperative, where everyone's trying to gather their information and everyone's trying to solve quests and solve the mysteries and, you know, work together. This one, you don't do that. And another game that recently did something similar to this is the Detective City of Angels, but that one actually had to have a person running the game, and this one you do not have to do that.
Right.
So I know that this is also in a series that they're planning on doing. Like they're calling it, Lucky Duck is calling it a brand new system called Destinies. So I don't know what that means. Of course, it's fully app driven. Lucky Duck tends to do stuff like that. And of course, it being Lucky Duck, I do have high hopes for them. They usually do pretty good. And I know one of their 2020 games ended up not being one of my favorites, but I'm in the minority there. A lot of people liked Kingdom Rush. However, this one I think is going to do extremely well. It has that same kind of QR and kind of get information, so it'll all be on your app. So of course people aren't finding out what you're doing when you go somewhere. I think this will be really neat. So I'm excited to see how Destinies is.
Yeah, and it wasn't very expensive either.
No, it wasn't.
It was fairly reasonable.
Lucky Duck tends to keep their games pretty cheap, which I like.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number 10 is one that I've been looking for a good pirate game. And Reckoning. This one uses that card crafting system and stuff that it's Mystic Vale and what's that other one?
Edge of Darkness.
Edge of Darkness. That's what I was thinking of. But this one just looks really cool. You know, like with you customize your ship, you get to do all the odds and ends. It's got the cube still, and all that stuff, and the art's really sweet.
Eno Toole, he's actually an artist that I do recognize.
Yeah. And it's this one's going to be on the heavier end. I mean, it's going to be a pretty heavy game from what I understand, but pirate games, it's hard to make a good pirate game, I guess. And I haven't played some of those, like I haven't played Merchants and Marauders, you know, stuff like that. But this one just intrigues me with all the different mechanics kind of trying to merge together to make a good pirate game. I think it'll end up being a pretty solid game, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think Merchants and Marauders is easily the best pirate game that is out there. Forgotten Waters is also a fantastic I guess it is a pirate game, but it is very narrative driven more so than mechanic driven, which doesn't make it any less, you know, of a good pirate game. However, this one does seem to be, I mean, they say EG and it's their card crafting, so everyone loves Mystic Vale. People love Edge of Darkness. That whenever I heard their card crafting system was going into a pirate game, I was like, oh, that'll be cool. So yeah, this one didn't make my top 10. It's actually pretty low out of the 60 that I had, surprisingly, but there were just so many games excited for in 2021. So that, but I mean, still, it's on the list of games that'll be coming my way. So yeah, I'm excited to see how they manage, because with a pirate game, I think the crux of it is customizing your ship, because that's always what makes games cool, is like, oh, hey, as I'm a pirate, so I want my ship to be my ship. That's where we generally live. So that's going to be interesting. I mean, they say it starts out, the ship is represented by a token on the board. The board is mostly unexplored and will be revealed as you move. So you can customize your gun, speed, and holding space of your ship. So it might not be as eccentric as what we're hoping, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. It sounds like an interesting one.
Oh, I forgot they had a cube power for this one.
Yeah, and that's the damage resolution and all that stuff. Like so that's pretty neat.
All right. Cool. Good pick. All right. My number 9 is probably going to be on your list. Is going to be Ankh, Gods of Egypt. This is going to be the newest in the trilogy by Eric Lang of giant monsters and giant area control. Of course, with Blood Rage and Rising Sun being fantastic and near perfect games that stand apart from one another whenever Ankh was mentioned. Now, I'm not the biggest person that is into Egypt lore. Like, I'm not like, oh my god, I know everything about those gods. Like Rising Sun, feudal Japan lore, and then Blood Rage was Viking. I know more about those than I do about Egypt. However, I have the fullest confidence that Eric is going to make a fantastic game set in this type of universe. And yeah, I mean, that's really like it. Like, I just think it's going to be an amazing game. I'm hoping it's amazing. I don't even know what their biggest mechanic was. Like Blood Rage was, of course, the card drafting and then taking those monsters as you win. And then Rising Sun had its negotiation aspect of.
I'm not sure what the base of this is.
Yeah, I mean, there's hardly been anything really out for it. Like it mentions that you play as a god of ancient Egypt, competing to survive to forget the old ways. So you build caravans, summon monsters, and convert followers in your quest to reign supreme. Yeah. All gameplay in Ankh, including combat, is streamlined and non-random. Love non-random combat. But, you know, they're really missing an opportunity where you just roll a bunch of dice and hope you get a 6 and win every combat. Yeah, compete and win solely on your godly wits alone. So I'm going to very much guess, with this being CMON, that it is going to be amazing miniatures, unique monster powers, unique player powers. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, it looks good for sure. We'll see if it's on my list later or not. All right. My number 9 is one that I've been growing more and more excited about as I've been reading more about, and that's the Dire Alliance horror from Blacklist.
Blacklist.
This one, of course, I backed it with all the miniatures and all that jazz.
Sure.
But they're going to be making a series of this, the Dire Alliance series. This one just happens to be the horror, but they're going to be doing other themes as well.
Okay.
But what's cool about this game is it has 2 different ways of playing it. There's the skirmish mode, the 1v1 or 2v2, whatever. But then there is the oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank now. It's the one where you play it solo or co-op.
Raid mode.
Raid. I knew it started with an R. But you select these different monster groups, I guess, and then you go through and you're battling and doing all kinds of different stuff. And Blacklist, since they started, I think their first set was the fantasy miniatures. They had that one Kickstarter, it was just miniatures, and their miniatures are really nice in those. So I'm excited to see what the final product of the horror ones are. But they've come out with, they unlocked quite a bit of stuff with this.
Yeah.
And then the last update from the Kickstarter, they said since the pledge manager's open, they've actually kept unlocking stuff. There's things that have come through. So there's 2 new monster groups and all these things that have been unlocked through the pledge manager. So it just looks like it's going to be a pretty cool game with variable play styles. Like you can play it with multiple people, play it solo, whatever, and then I'm interested to see like what other themes they bring in and how they cross over, and because one of the things about this game, the card system of this game is based on the Undaunted, like the Undaunted Normandy and Undaunted North Africa and stuff. So, and those are really popular games. I haven't played those yet, but so they've kind of merged the Blacklist style with some Sadler style, and then threw in some Undaunted stuff. It could be a pretty cool mix of stuff. So yeah, that's
right. And I mean, Blacklist is definitely one of those companies that once they make a game, I'm pretty much just going to go all in on what they do. They haven't let me down yet. And with this one, I remember whenever I was ranking them, I was like, oh yeah, Dire Alliance, that's Blacklist. And then I was like, oh, that's okay. It's competitive. It's not their modular deck system. Like I just expect all their games to be. And so it's deck building, and then the battle mode is the 2-player variant, and then what's it say? Choose a faction and leader with your own chosen combination of faction and leader, and then raid mode allows the 1 to 4 to work together to take down an AI controlled enemy. So I think hopefully that they can do both well. It is a little bit of concern when people are like, oh, 17 different ways to play, and you're like, yeah, none of them are good. Like, why didn't you just pick 2? But I have full faith in them, and then I'm guessing that Trevor Benjamin and David Thompson are the 2 that made the Undaunted series. So I think I'm pretty sure with the 4 of them that they'll be able to streamline both of the modes. So I mean, it's just horror, right? Like, I mean, there's nothing like, is it just horror?
Yeah, this one is all horror themed, and then the next one could be Victorian, or I don't know, it could be
Western.
I think there's this whole new thing right now with these unmatched games and all these things where they're just trying to mix all these genres. So I think they're probably they could come out with a fantasy one, since they already have the fantasy miniatures out.
True.
They could do a Dire Alliance fantasy. They could do and then you just plug them and fight against a big hodgepodge of bullshit. But for right now, the horror theme of this, the classic horror, looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one I am excited for as well.
All right.
My number 8 is Role Player Adventures, which I will very much be surprised if this is not on your list as well. I mean, yeah, Role Player Adventures. This is basically the set in the Role Player universe where the two previous games, or actually the Role Player game was you would roll a D&D character, and that would be it. And you score points based off, a bunch of various different things, doing your background, doing your alignment, doing a bunch of other things. But then the two expansions that came out for that added, okay, you can go fight monsters. And then another one was, oh, okay, well, now you have a familiar with you. And then this one, you either can take that a character that you have made and put it into this world, and you actually go on campaigns and make decisions and have adventures in a kind of a module style D&D game. Or if you don't want to, I don't believe you have to even own Role Player. This one comes with pre-made characters, so you can just buy this and go on a D&D-esque without having the need for a dungeon master, which I think is what a lot of people are looking for, especially during this pandemic. Not a lot of people are, getting together. And I personally feel that D&D doesn't work the best over Zoom or over Steam. Over whatever, online, really.
Right.
So you can get that same feeling with this. And the best thing about this is I've actually played it. You have also played the alpha, really.
Yeah.
But I got to play their prototype copy or their demo copy whenever it was on Kickstarter. It was pretty much the same thing, Brad. Like, just fleshed out a little bit more, and actually had some artwork. But yeah, I cannot wait. And they had, I believe, at least 10 adventures in the base box, which is insane. Now, I don't believe they connect to one another. I think they're standalone.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But each of them, I mean, hell, even the section that I to play, which was like the first chapter and the first adventure, had multiple branching paths and how you can go about resolving certain situations and getting different items that would let you do different things. Or, oh, you didn't get that item, so you don't get to do this. I cannot wait for this game. And it's a little bit of a cheat, really, because I kind of already know how it's going to be, so I know it's going to be good. But still, that doesn't mean I don't want it. I don't want to play the finished copy. So, yep, that's my number 8, Role Player Adventures.
All right, my number 8 is the closest thing to an expansion that was on my list.
Your 10, okay.
Yeah, and it's the Shadows of Brimstone.
Shadows of Brimstone
Adventures. These are standalone.
You don't have enough stuff, really?
Well, I do, but I already backed this Kickstarter for a ton, so I guess I'm getting more. But these can be played standalone, but I'm going to use them as an expansion to flesh out the Gates of Valhalla. Will flesh out the Targa Plateau stuff, and then the Valley of the Serpent Kings will be the swamp. But these add a little bit more narrative into it as well. There's actually
seeing the adventures tagline. So
yeah, it that must have been a thing for games coming out in 2021, because there's a lot of things that say something adventures, and all.
Yeah,
Dice Throne Adventures, Shadows of Brimstone Adventures, Role Player Adventures.
Yeah, Role Player Adventures.
Yeah,
it's like, we get it. It's a campaign.
But no, with all that Brimstone stuff that I have, the one that Targa, that snow world, was probably the weakest of all the worlds as far as the tiles, and if you ever went there. So bringing in the Gates of Valhalla really fleshes it out, makes it, gives it a lot more stuff to it. At this point, I could swim in all of my Brimstone components and stuff. There's so much stuff out there, but these, I'm interested to see how much more, because you get a lot of role play type storytelling in it anyway, depending on your play group. But then when they throw in this adventure stuff, I'm curious to know how much more actual narrative gets thrown in with that. Plus, it's just more stuff. So that's why I have it here at number 8, because I'm excited to get it, put all those damn miniatures together.
You don't even know about miniature assembly. I don't want to hear it. The most complex Shadows of Brimstone mini has like 4 pieces to put together.
No, that's not true.
All right, sorry, 5 pieces.
The Dragon King. The Dragon King had probably about 40 or 50. So, but yeah, not.
Do you have to put on minuscule hands into its butthole? Do you have to do that, Brad? Because I did. It's actually interesting. I'm pretty sure Flying Frog has ignored every other game that they have made and is now going full into Shadows of Brimstone.
Might as well, I guess.
They haven't done anything for. I think there was supposed to be a new expansion for the Fortune and Glory, but
they're supposed to have been out at the end of last year, but I think they got pushed back to the first quarter of this year, 2021.
Yeah. And then they don't do Last Night on Earth. It's Touch of Evil.
They do Last Night on Earth too. What they pivoted towards is doing these 10th anniversary editions and stuff. Like they're taking their old games and they're creating new editions of them, which I don't understand.
Which is, good. Because their games are clunky and old.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's why I like that company so much, is because it reminds me of games I played back in the day. The roll and move and all that stuff. That's like, I make fun of your talisman. This is my talisman.
Like right? You're like, wow, roll the move. It's like, yeah, that's every Shadows of Brimstone game.
But yeah. So anyway, my number 8, Shadows of Brimstone Adventures, just more goodness.
Awesome. My number 7 is technically another expansion, but it is standalone, and that is Marvel Champions Galaxy's Most Wanted. This is
high on your list, huh?
Oh, man, I just loved Rise of Red Skull so much that you can see the dynamic of or their vision, Fantasy Flight's vision of what they want to do with this. Obviously, they're following the Infinity Stones. So right. I thought the MCU was obviously it's not perfect. Not every movie in that thing was great, but it was revolutionary. And you never really saw them take a movie series and have it be its own universe. So, and I thought Infinity War and Endgame were almost masterpieces in superhero like film. So when it comes to this, I thought Rise of Red Skull was so awesome, and Marvel Champions is a fantastic superhero game, probably the best one. I'm gonna go out. That this is the best superhero game that's out, and with Fantasy Flight being as up to date on their living card games as they are, this one is it's going to be good. Like it's going to come with like Rise of Red Skull. It's going to come with 2 more heroes. So you're going to have 2 more heroes as well as 5 new villains. And of course, the final one, you can see it on the box cover, is going to be Ronin.
Yep.
And in the Rise of Red Skull one, there wasn't a single villain that I didn't like fighting against. Now I didn't really like fighting against them with Hawkeye, but you have all that content for a phenomenal game that I was like, okay. And I believe the 2 heroes in this one are going to be, it's Rocket Raccoon and Groot, right?
That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's confirmed.
Because I've
heard, it is? Okay. Because
yeah, I looked down.
Okay, because I was going to say, I'd heard at one point there was a rumor that they were going to be one hero and it was going to flip, like you'd control Groot or Rocket. And they'd do it kind of like Ant-Man with a big card or something where they'd be teamed up, like a big card, up, But yeah, I don't think that's happening.
That would make sense. They're kind of one and the same. I definitely, from what Board Game Geek is saying, it says, features heroic fan favorites, Rocket Raccoon and Groot, and villains like Ronan the Accuser and the Collector.
The Collector.
Didn't know the Collector was a villain. Like,
kind of is, but not. I don't know how threatening he is.
Maybe the whole fight against him is you trying to rummage through his shit to find one of the stones. I don't know. But yeah, this is very high on my anticipated because I just know it's going to be good. So yeah, that's my number 7. Marvel Champions, Galaxy's Most Wanted.
All right, my number 7.
I believe this is my last. I believe this is my last expansion. It is. Okay, so I'm done. I'm done cheating.
My number 7 has already been discussed.
Ooh, is it Role Player Adventures?
I hit the wrong button. Sorry. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, it's
already been discussed. It was my 8 and number 7, so I'm gonna keep talking about it.
I hit the up arrow instead of the down arrow. All right, Role Player Adventures. I mean, there isn't really much more I can say other. I think it was a good decision for them to be able to find that formula to bring in players that you create and turn. You could have a role player evening and play a whole entire game of role player, and then be like, okay, now our characters are all set up, ready to rock and roll. Let's go on adventures. Yeah. Because I know
that's such a cool concept. You could literally have a D&D session without having to be like, oh man, someone flaked. I guess we can't play tonight, or the DM doesn't want to do it, or we don't have a DM. Yeah, right. You could literally just be like, all right, let's play this awesome dice drafting game.
Well, and I know I know that was one of the trickiest parts of creating that part of this game was trying to, because the risk of having such a super powerful character, if you rolled really well and had, you're in the 20s or 18, and all this stuff, and then trying to compare that to the pre-made characters on here, you had to kind of have some sort of a leveling deal. And I'm curious I'm assuming they were successful in making the created characters work out.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I mean, you could easily just be like, all right, yeah, I'm going to just make my role player character and just only take high numbers and not really play role player, but really in the spirit of the game at that point. So you can just cheat. You can just make a character. You just not make a character and just read the story and be like, oh yeah, I would do this. But I mean, you can be a shitty player if you really want to be like that. But yeah, I think with the way that they're doing the mechanisms in role player, with it being it's still dice. Like you have to get certain colored dice to complete objectives, and the higher one stat is, you have a higher chance of succeeding, but you could still fail, just like regular D&D. It's like, I have a +10 in my survival, but I rolled a 2, so it's a 12, so I still fail in doing what I was trying to do. Or you can always roll a 1. So I think that they probably did a pretty good job.
Yeah, but I'm excited for this one. Plus the box is supposed to be huge from what I understand. So
yeah, I'm curious to see if they're gonna continue this adventure series and only do, okay, now we're gonna do more campaigns, or if they made it in a way, because now we're gonna have 2 separate boxes for this one and the actual role player game, which is fine. Like, they are completely separate games, so I'm not as upset with that one as I am with some other games that come out. But yeah, this is a good one. I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be a good one.
All right, my number 6 is one that I was supposed to come out. Geez, Brad, you're not even letting me do my build up to the
sorry.
Sleeping Gods. Number 6. But yeah, this was supposed to come out, I believe, this year. I think this was one that's slated in.
Some people are getting them right now, but
I'm so happy for those people.
Yeah.
You know what? This is getting a 2 out of 10. But yeah, this is Ryan Laukatz's and Red Raven Games' newest kind of explore and like their world building, kind of similar to Near and Far, and to a lesser extent Above and Below. But yeah, like this one, I believe this might have been mentioned or on my list last year for anticipated for 2020. However, I don't have my copy, so it's going on 2021, and I will consider it for a 2021 best of or worst of or a 2021 list. But yeah, this one is going to be extremely exciting. I am really big on campaign games that allow the players to make decisions, and how in the campaign morphs and changes based off player decisions. I'm not a fan of games where it's a campaign, but it's really just play our game 10 times. Now, this is where you and up to 3 friends become Captain Soulful Odessa enter crew. Lost in a strange world in 1929 on your steamship, the Manticore. Yeah, you work together to survive, exploring exotic islands, meeting new characters, and seeking out the totems of the gods so you can return home. Yeah, it's a campaign game. Where you mark your progress. You have a journey log sheet that that's kind of basically your save state. And you just, what are they calling it? An app. Oh yeah, that's right. It is a, like you have that kind of the book system where you just kind of, that's how you explore the world. Similar, Near and Far did the same thing, and a lot of other games are starting to do it. Plaid Hat with theirs, and another game that came out last year or this year in 2020 for Almanac. But yeah, I've always admired Ryan Lockett's world, even though all of his games haven't been like amazing to me. But I've definitely come around a lot more with Near and Far, and Above and Below was always great. So I'm extremely excited for Sleeping Gods, and this art cover freaks me the fuck out because it's that creature like up to just grab your boat and eat you. So I'm excited to see how the campaign goes, because this is a unique world.
Yeah, this one's always looked pretty cool. I did not back it, but
I did.
All right.
I always back games.
So my number 6 has already been talked about.
Oh, is it Ankh?
No.
Oh. Okay. Sorcerer Endbringer.
Yeah.
This is an expansion.
Kinda. It's probably more of an.
I'm not dogging you. It was on my list, but
yeah. Mainly because this one can be played out of the box. That's the only reason. But if you want to have more variety, you want the other stuff too, and then it just all kind of mixes together. Now, if they just had one big box for all of it, then it'd be good.
I know.
That may come, because they usually will do that after they release more stuff, because they said they're not done with Sorcerer after this, so they're probably going to come out with some other mega box or something at some point.
Awesome. Yeah, but I hope so.
Yeah. This one's going to be really cool because that was the only drawback with Sorcerer in my eyes, because I love Sorcerer. I demoed it for them at Origins, the last Origins that existed. All
those years ago.
Yeah. But my one biggest drawback was it's a 1v1. I can't play it by myself, and explore it myself and everything. So when they came out with this, it's going to be super challenging, and they've actually listened to their fans a lot and changed how the Endbringers work. So they're going to make it, I don't know how much you remember about the deal, but because you're going to have your locations out there, and the Endbringer is a really big miniature, and it's going to take the place. It's going to kind of be over 2 of those locations at a time.
Okay.
But what would happen is when you'd flip a card out of his deck, there'd be a symbol on it, and on that Endbringer's main card, there would be 4 symbols. And so if the card you flip had this symbol, then everybody takes 1 damage, or there's 4 things that would happen, right? Well, that kind of would get stagnant. So people, the fans and stuff, were talking, and now they've made it to where every single card that you flip has its own individual event that takes place. So it's going to make it so much more you can't prepare. It's going to be more.
dynamic.
Yeah, it's not gonna get samey every time. Like, oh, there's that yellow symbol. That means everybody's taking a damage. It's just so
right.
So they've made it more interesting.
Yeah, it wouldn't really make any of the Endbringers unique.
Right.
I mean, if it was just colored symbols, then it's like, all right, just have, why are we fighting any of the other different ones? So yeah.
Yeah, so
that's good.
It's going to be pretty
neat.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see how this goes, and it's not going to be easy. I mean, everything that Rob and those guys talk about when I watch their live streams, this is not going to be an easy cooperative solo experience to win, because it's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it should be. I mean,
yeah. So I'm excited to see how it shakes out and how.
Yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention. Right. One thing I forgot to mention is that one of the new characters, his name is Seth, and that's pretty cool. So, yeah, and he uses like people's souls. Yeah, whenever we do the run through for it, I'll dress up like him. But there's actually, funny enough, I think there's a character in BattleCon, like Unleashed, that his name is also Seth, and he's actually pretty fun to play as well. So it's just, I mean, it's just a cool name. Cool people have that name. So yeah, very excited for this one.
Yeah, it's gonna be good for sure. All right.
My number 5 is.
I'm waiting to see. Do you want me to do a precursor? You gonna talk about it first?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay.
My number 5 is Dawn of Madness, which
that is just creepy.
I know, isn't it? Like, this one I went all in on because I am a huge fan of Deep Madness, and this is a precursor to those. This is like before the events of Deep Madness, but I mean, it is kind of a. Obviously, it's its own game. Yeah, I mean, basically, what does it say? It is, set in the same universe as Deep Madness. It's a completely standalone, unique, and terrifying gaming experience. So, yeah, I mean, Deep Madness was a fantastic cooperative game with all these monstrosities. I think they did a fantastic job at doing some great world building, a unique setting where you are in a underground facility, an underwater facility, and where they did have a campaign where you did play each they had scenarios, but they did somewhat connect, at least narratively, that make it extremely exciting. Tons of content for that game, like so many different scenarios for it, and just different ways to play all these unique monsters. And they actually ended up coming out with a storage solution for all of that. So props to them on that. Now, Dawn of Madness, of course, I was excited for because Deep Madness was so great. Now, this one is going to be, you assume the role of wanderers trapped in a feverish hellscape surrounded by the distorted echoes of their own history. Seek to discover what led you to this horrific world, struggling to survive as you and your fellow players. Stories unfold across multiple chapters. So they mention that the choices made throughout the chapter, and even the order that those choices are made in, influence almost every aspect of the game, ensuring that no playthrough will ever be exactly the same. I mean, seems to be a lot more narrative driven than just, hey, here's different scenarios that connect to one another. This one actually has a bunch of different choices, grotesque, disgusting monsters that you have to kill. I am excited of what they do with the setting versus kind of what Deep Madness had with the underwater facility. I think this one is set in kind of I have a feeling it's going to be more of a mental kind of, you're trapped in your own head kind of world, but also still in the physical world. So, yeah, I mean, this one I obviously had to have, and I cannot wait to get it. So that's my number 5, Dawn of Madness.
All right, my number 5 is one that I'm putting on this list, even though I will be getting it in January, because technically it's still 2021 in January.
Well, yeah, of course.
Is Dice Throne Adventures.
Oh, yeah.
This is another one of those games I kind of put in that same category with Sorcerer. The 1v1 version of this game is fun as hell with your own deck and your own special dice and your own dashboard. You're battling 1v1, or you can play with more 2v2, whatever. But then they came out with the Dice Throne Adventures, which turns it into a cooperative solo dungeon crawl using your same dashboard, your deck of cards, your dice, and you're rolling and going through and flipping tiles and moving through these dungeons. You could have went with the miniatures. You could have went with the standees. I just went with the standees because.
Yeah, I went with minis.
Well, yeah, and I was just sitting there. I was like, the focus of this game is the dice, so that's why I focus. Yeah, I didn't worry about that. But anyway, so you go through. But what's cool about this is, like, as you gain loot as you beat stuff, you can buy loot, get loot out of the loot decks, different stuff to power up your characters. The bad guys that you fight at the end of the dungeon are incredibly hard. So it's just going to be a really cool experience, I think, from some of the little playthroughs I watched. And then I didn't own any of this, so I went through and I got all the stuff, which I think you did probably too. So now I have all the characters and all that stuff, and you can take any of those characters into the dungeon, and they all play so differently. Some of them are a lot more technical than others, and everything. It's just, the Dice Throne itself is a great game, but then when you throw this cooperative dungeon crawl into it as well, I think it's just going to be outstanding.
Yeah, I forgot about this game whenever I was ranking. I mean, I think because I got like an email from Quartermaster, basically verifying my shipping address. So for some reason I thought it was on its way, but yeah, I think it's coming out next month.
Yeah, it'll be like late January.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I am excited for it. I really like the 1v1 head-to-head kind of games. So a lot of people enjoyed this one. And with there being at the campaign, or not the campaign, but the campaign that the characters can go on.
Well, and I think it's cool. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say this one probably wouldn't still have made the top 10. However, it definitely would be on the list of games I'm excited for.
Yeah, the thing I like about this too is, like, because you get these boxes and it has all the characters in them, like the season 1, season 2, everything. But the boxes are all nice, like game tray. I don't know if they're exactly Game Trays name brand, but they're all like, they each character has their own individual tray with the dice and your cards, and you put your own tokens and all that nice stuff, and the dashboard slides down and everything. It's just,
that's nice.
Roxley Games does this is their passion project, and they put all kinds of cool stuff into this game.
Yeah.
And plus they're cool guys. I met them at the convention. They're pretty.
Yeah, I talked to them at Gen Con a couple years back, and yeah, they were super nice. Same company that did Santorini. So
yeah, not everybody's perfect. But
yeah, you're one of them. So you don't like Santorini.
I do want to try the New York one though.
I did see that randomly, and I was like, "What the hell is that?"
That's more gamery. Everybody says it's like really like thinky, and a lot more. Yeah. So anyway, I digress. But anyway, Dice Throne and Adventures. We'll be getting it here before long, and it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited. Obviously not as excited as you because I forgot about it. But my number 4 is one that I was actually told by a friend of mine who is really big into Kingdom Death. I think he has something wrong with him. But he mentioned this one because a podcaster that he listens to, who's also, he basically covers KDM stories, is now so mad at the company that he's basically just suggesting other games for people to play that will give you a KDM feel. And this was one of them, and that is Townsfolk Tussle.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Now this one,
This one looks good.
I was sold immediately as I watched their Kickstarter video because it had that old ass cartoon theme, the music, and I love that kind of music that's set in that era. And with the it has that Cuphead like aesthetic, and I loved Cuphead as a video game. Extremely hard, like cooperative, basically boss battler. And that's exactly what this is. So it says, after the death of the beloved sheriff of Eureka Springs, ruffians are coming into droves to your defenseless town, and you have to stop them. So this townsfolk to wallop these troublemakers into oblivion. But what makes me so excited about this is, one, the theme, two, that this is going to be, it's in a genre that is starting to come out a lot more, thank God, where it's what they call a boss battler, which I would probably say the same thing, where it's, hey, all you're doing is fighting bosses, and the bosses are unique and they have their own AI system and their own way, and you are working together to bring them down, similar to what Kingdom Death does, except it's not grossly overpriced and cumbersome and a shitty game. So, yeah, this one I could not be more excited for, with it being just I'm hoping that the AI for the monsters are good, and that you can do enough with your characters to kind of make them your own and go out and fight these bosses in a thematic way, like similar to Monster Hunter, where every monster has its own thing about them, and you can approach them in different ways to either make it hopefully a little bit easier or a little bit harder. And I mean, the one good thing that KDM has was the AI deck for monsters. So you hit them, they react, or they can do things. You can knock them down, you can get criticals. I'm hoping that this one does something similar. And if not, its theme, I think it's awesome. Like, I loved Cuphead as a video game, and that was one of the reasons, was it being in this kind of art style and this kind of world. So, and the other fun fact is that they had posted an update on their Kickstarter where they're like, hey, we made a Spotify playlist of all the music that inspired us for this kind of game. So I've just been listening to that nonstop, because I, once again, love that kind of music.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. Yeah, I can't wait. So that's my number 4, Townsfolk Tussle.
I kept waiting for him to put something solo or cooperative in it, and
it looks like it is 2 to 5.
Yeah, that's why I didn't pull the trigger on it. So I'll have to just see how it plays out and stuff. But, all right, so my number 4 is the Big Daddy. I assume it's probably going to be on your list at some point too, and that is Frosthaven.
I expected that to be your number 1.
Really? This one is, I mean, if you don't know what this is, you need a hole in the head, because Gloomhaven being it's the number 1 game anymore. No, it's not. Yeah, is it still number 1 on BGG? Gloomhaven? I can't remember.
It's still number 1.
Okay, yeah. I couldn't remember if it got passed or not.
No, you think people wouldn't be talking about that if it got passed?
Well, so you have Gloomhaven, that's the number 1 game on BGG, has been for a while. I was one of the people that were bashing Gloomhaven for a couple of years. I got right in the head because of Jaws of the Lion, and now it's probably my most played game. It's probably my most played game of the year. So then when Frosthaven came, I like the wintry theme. I like the colors, the way that goes and stuff. So I'm excited to see how it goes. And then finding out that they're going that extra step with this, and when your characters retire, they set up shop in Frosthaven and bring more options. You can actually develop the city more as stuff goes. It's I just don't know. I mean, it's more of the same, and I think they're going to enhance it and make it even a little bit more interactive than Gloomhaven anyway. So plus I'm excited at this point to see what kind of new characters they bring in after playing Jaws of the Lion, and seeing how awesome the characters we've played has been, just to see how they do with this stuff. There isn't really much bad I can say about it at this point. I'm excited to get the foreteller stuff and hear all the the new stuff for it and everything too. So it's going to be an awesome experience, I think.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, and who knows, maybe I'll talk about it in a little bit.
I'm sure you will.
All right, my number 3 is technically, once again, a game that was slated for 2020. However, I have not received my copy, even though I know I've seen people who have, and great, I'm so glad that they get it. But as of right now, I'm getting it in 2021, and once again, like, what was the other one that, there was another game that was slated for 2020. But, yep, yeah. Bloodborne, the board game. I cannot wait for this. It is going to be, I mean, Bloodborne is my favorite video game, and I think with CMON being the one doing it and not Steamforged, it has the potential to be completely amazing. They did so many updates on this game while it was on Kickstarter, explaining, how they went about different weapons and how they went about monsters and how they went about the different areas. And you sent me a picture of like all the stack of everything. I mean, it's insane that, and they have virtually I believe everything for it. The biggest one that I was wanting was Cainhurst Castle, which they do have, and so I believe I think they have every boss. The only thing they don't have is the DLC for Bloodborne. I believe it was the Old Hunters DLC, which has my favorite bosses in it, but they could easily just release that as its own expansion, because it's still a DLC. You can just do one box with all those bosses in it. Right. But for the most part, they have everything in the base game, I believe. And I think with this being, it's going to be obviously cooperative. Once again, it's probably going to be best one or two. These kind of Dark Souls-esque IPs. Obviously, you don't play the video games with multiple people. You do one or two, and I think that's how I'm going to go about it. I'm just excited to see how they go about with their with the transition weapons, and then the items that you have to get, and the AI. That's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is how the bosses fight. So I'm hoping that they do it in a way where it's not just a sheet and it's like, okay, well, here's everything they can do. I hope that they do it with a card system, because I actually haven't really looked more into the game. Like I just wanted to be surprised at how everything worked out. So yeah,
I know absolutely nothing about Bloodborne.
Bloodborne is set in a Victorian Gothic era where there was essentially blood that was starting to be used as healing properties, and there was a church that was distributing this for a ailment. Hey, if you're sick, we'll give you this mysterious blood that we've used. And it is eventually turned people into monsters that the villagers of Yharnam, which is the city or the village, had to it's the city of Yharnam, and they had to essentially do every night. They would go out and hunt
Gotcha.
These monsters. Obviously a lot more to it, and it essentially kind of delves into Cthulhu Lovecraftian-esque with some of the other creatures, because they're called the Old Ones in this, right. And they that's pretty much where the blood came from, and so it affected humans. And obviously each section has its own lore behind it, like Dark Souls, and it does more for me because I really like Victorian era, like the Gothic kind of style, and of course I'm a huge Lovecraft fan, so mixing those together, and with it being the first Souls-like game that I actually beat, and I beat it multiple times, it's just fantastic. So high hopes, and it has Eric Lang behind it, so I'm obviously less skeptical. I think he and Michael Shinali, Michael Shinal. Hopefully they don't butcher this game.
At least they'll have all the minis.
So that's my number 3. I will have all the minis. And I know I said this for Dark Souls. I know I said it for Horizon Zero Dawn that I would keep the minis, but I never did. I ended up selling the games. This one, I for sure will keep the minis if the game ends up sucking, because at least I love Bloodborne. So that's my number 3, Bloodborne, the board game.
Okay, so my number 3 is from a game company that I had not played any of their games up until this year. And then I fell in love with their games, and then they had the Kickstarter pop up, and that is Burn Cycle by Chip Theory Games. This one, well, I started off with Too Many Bones. Really, really, really like Too Many Bones. And I haven't had a chance. I own Cloudspire. Haven't had a chance to mess with it quite yet, but I've played Hoplomachus and really enjoy it. So when this one, when I was buying all that stuff, they kept having this advertisement for this Kickstarter that was upcoming, and it was a solo experience. So that's what they kind of pushed this as. And it kind of went into a weird direction with all these mechs and robots and stuff. And kind of the story with this was that, like, the robots are persecuted. Like, humans went away, and then some robots brought some humans back just to try to see how they'd go, and then the humans just took back over again and started persecuting the robots. So you play as these robots or these AIs that are going around, and you're sneaking around. Like, you really don't want to do a lot of head-to-head fighting because your chances aren't going to be that great. You are trying to sneak around, hack computer systems, get to the 3rd floor to do whatever objective. Again, it's got the chip theory deal. Everything's play mats and poker chips and everything. But what's cool with this one is they actually, depending on if you got it in the Kickstarter, was they actually have brass miniatures of the robots, and their chips fit underneath the brass deal, and it magnets to them. So it's like, it's just nuts, the production value of this stuff. And
it's insane. Like, they go above for their component quality.
Yeah. And this one's just really cool because there's like a lot of like that cyberpunk feel. You know, you're doing a lot of like circuitry work on this one board, and you're trying to do this and patch these programs through. You might want to try to distract them by doing something over. You know, it's those sneaking around games, the hidden movement, sneaking around stuff that I kind of enjoy in my video games and stuff. Kind of like we talked about with Sniper Elite earlier.
Sure.
And this one's just, it looks like it's just going to be a blast from some of the gameplay videos and stuff that I've watched. So.
Yeah, I remember seeing this one, and I was like, I don't know anything about that, so I guess I'll just wait for the Kickstarter. And then, then it was. I thought the theme was extremely unique, so I was a little bit sold on that. And with Chip Theory, they have, of course, Cloudspire, and then you've talked up Too Many Bones, which I will be getting everything for that hopefully in January. That. Of course, I back this one as well just to see what it's like. I mean, at least the production quality is going to be really good.
Yeah, for sure.
So, awesome. Well, my number 2 has already been mentioned. It is our 3rd crossover, and that is Frosthaven.
There you go.
Yep. I mean, of course, Gloomhaven being such a phenomenal game, Frosthaven was going to be, of course, one of the highest for the anticipation of 2021, and it broke all Kickstarter records, dethroned KDM. So slowly but surely, KDM will be long and forgotten. But yeah, this one, I mirror everything that you said. But one thing that I'm extremely excited for is the fact that they actively are developing a way for Frosthaven to be more lively, more things to do. Mm-hmm. Whenever you're not actually going into a scenario, unlike with Blue, the only thing you could really do is buy stuff from the shop and then donate money to the church forever, and that's pretty much it. You can't really have a city event, but here you're going to be able to do a lot more in Frosthaven. And also, from what I understand, the scenarios are going to be a lot more unique, like the goals, instead of Gloomhaven, where it's like, oh, kill all enemies, which was kind of it's a dungeon crawl, so that's kind of what you want to do. Gloomhaven had the game mechanisms as well as the narrative that I very much enjoyed, that I kind of overlook that almost every scenario you just have to kill everyone. But Frosthaven seems to be kind of branching out a little bit more with having unique scenarios. So I'm very much excited with Frosthaven. Whenever we were doing this list, I was like, I actually thought it was going to be my number one, but then I remembered another game that's coming out next year. So, yep. So this one is number 2, Frosthaven.
All right, my number 2 is a game that it's a future mutation of a game that we both own and enjoy, and it's a solo only game.
Okay.
And it's Final Girl.
Oh, yep.
This one checks all the boxes for me. I mean, I love the horror genre anyway, and then I love Hostage Negotiator. And then you throw in the unique way that they do this game, because there's all these different, there's a core box for Final Girl, and then you have all these feature film boxes that came with it that you could buy, and then you just kind of mix them together, and you have a whole different kind of movie, horror trope, and you are controlling the final girl, the last living person, and you're trying to survive, finish objectives, either kill the main bad dude or whatever. But and they all play so different, the one that they got right there is kind of like a Friday the 13th kind of deal, but it's some pig face dude. It's not a hockey mask, but they have a Nightmare on Elm Street one that was the last one that they unlocked. And it's watching all the playthroughs of this game and how things go with it. It brings the Hostage Negotiator feel, but there's a lot more spatial movement. Like you actually are moving miniatures around the area and doing different stuff and setting up almost kind of traps for the bad guy and stuff. I don't know. There is nothing about this that I don't dislike from watching playthroughs, and the theme of it is just going to be awesome as hell. And I love that they're experimenting with that whole Hostage Negotiator base mechanic.
True. Yeah, Hostage Negotiator is a lot of fun and a solo-only experience, which not a lot of those games come out. Most of them are like, hey, this can be played solo, but with more people. There's not a whole bunch that are, hey, this is solo-only. Mm-hmm. And for Van Ryder to go really heavy into that with Hostage Negotiator and Final Girl is exciting. This one was actually pretty high up out of all the games that I was anticipated for. This one ended up being relatively high up. Just barely missed the 10. So I'm excited for this one as well. I'm not the biggest into slasher films, but I do appreciate them and enjoy the characters in those, like the 80s tropes with Freddy and Jason, and then my favorite is the Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, but my thing with this is the thing with this is it's unique. I think that's the biggest thing. Like just there isn't this many with this kind of theme, there's those one stupid games that have come out over the years that have tried to mimic the Friday the 13th or there was and all this different stuff.
Last Friday was one of them. Apparently that was pretty good, and then there was another one that was by Golden Bell, but that company is fucked. So
I just think the way that they do this in with the pedigree of Van Ryder games and stuff, it's just good.
All right, number 1 anticipated games for 2021. Can you guess what mine is?
Can you tell me the company?
Awaken Realms.
Is it the one that's on Kickstarter right now? Or
Yeah.
Kickbound or whatever? That Vanguard one?
Yep. ISS Vanguard
Gotcha.
is my anticipated game for 2021. Now, obviously, I actually got I believe I got the art book for this whenever I got my Tainted Grail stuff. And then Etherfields had a more in-depth look onto what the game is actually going to be about. Now, currently, at the time of this recording, it is on Kickstarter. And
GameFound.
Man, GameFound. Yep. Sorry. Oh my God. No. Yeah, it's on GameFound. I mean, Awaken might be my favorite company. Like, This War of Mine, Tainted Grail, Etherfields are just fantastic games. And with ISS Vanguard, where it is once again a campaign-style space exploration game that basically has two phases. The ship phase, where you manage your ship, which is actually like a binder, like for all the upgrades and stuff, and has different tabs for the different sections of the ship, which I think is going to be is extremely unique. Nothing I've ever seen actually has like a separate section. Boom, here's our ship, everything for that. And yeah, it mentions every section will have to make gameplay decisions, and then you do the landing on planets, where you go to different planets and explore that, basically in search of answers to humanity's biggest questions. So you'll pick lander and customize it with modules. Each section will choose a crew member to take on a mission. And they mentioned that there are over 100 different crew members that with unique characteristics, because they can die. And there's actually a log in your binder for the people who have fallen that you slot them in there. Similar to kind of like, this just has very Mass Effect vibes for me. And Mass Effect was a hugely important trilogy in my life. From 1 to 3, and I know a lot of people, if they've played Mass Effect, hated the ending for 3, but I think as an ending, it was a real, I enjoyed the ending. But yeah, the different choices you make across that series, going to different planets, exploring space, having your own ship that you get to customize. I mean, Awaken Realms hasn't let me down. I mean, they have kind of with Lords of Hellas, but I kind of just forget about that one. So
I watched the preview video for this and kind of some people's, and I got so damn confused. I was just like, I'm not even going to try. That's way over my head.
Right.
I don't know why it didn't grab me.
It definitely had me. Oh yeah, Awaken Realms also did Nemesis, and Nemesis is amazing. And then The Edge Dawnfall, which was a decent skirmish game. I think in skirmish, if people like those, they would like The Edge. Skirmish games don't really do it for me. But yeah, during all phases of the game, players will be directed to logbook, consisting story encounters, often written in the form of action-packed dialogues between the characters. So I cannot wait for this game. So yeah, that's my number one.
All right. Do you have a guess on mine?
Has it been mentioned?
No.
All right. Let me take a look. It would either be that. Oh, Freedom 5.
Freedom 5. Oh,
yeah.
Good picture. All right.
It was either between that one or Hour of Need.
No, Hour of Need is on my other list of stuff, kind of, but this one, Freedom 5 it's a culmination of a couple of things, because I always wanted to like Sentinels of the Multiverse, but the card game was just so fiddly and convoluted with all the weird status counters and ships and all that stuff. But I always liked the world that Greater Than Games created with those heroes and the bad guys and stuff.
Yeah. So it's just a shame that the Sentinels of the Multiverse game is actually bad.
Right. So what happened is, how do you fix that for somebody that's an old school fan of Defenders of the Realm? you throw Freedom 5 Sentinels onto Defenders of the Realm and throw badass oversized miniatures and all these, more new art, updated art. The system that they created with the whole comic book system, and that's, you play through the comic book, and that's how you play through the stories. They have all these characters, tons of options for bad guys and environments and everything. Over the top component quality. I mean, I know you did. You and I both dropped a fair amount of money on this game.
That one was
I think I was at 400
decision.
So
to get everything for it.
I didn't get. Oh, maybe I can't remember if I did the very top one or the next one, but I got the pre-painted minis and all that stuff. So
I think I can look it up. Yeah. Let me view my pledge real quick. I have my other monitor over here so I can pull up games as we talk about them. So let's see. My pledge was the all-in cosmetic plus gameplay plus mats.
What was the one below that?
So that's a good question. Let me get back to you while you
keep talking. No, it's not a big deal. It's not, but because I don't know if I did the highest one. I think I did the one right below that. But regardless, it's just it's one of those things, because I'm always going to be a fan of Defenders of the Realm, even though it's outdated. But when you throw in the combination of people with this, we talked about the Sadler brothers. So you have the Sadler brothers, and with this going with Richard Launius and his design of that stuff, and then you also have the world created by Greater Than Games and those guys, and it's just like, it's just
you can't go wrong, right?
Of stuff, and and with it being a fully cooperative deal, it was a no-brainer. And
I completely agree. I think what they did with this one, because Sentinels, I just feel like it was a cumbersome experience, as well as it was just slow. You never really got to feel like a cool superhero, even though I liked all the unique superheroes that were in the game. So this one you get to experience that and hopefully actually feel like a badass. On the other note, the other one was the all-in cosmetic plus gameplay pledge,
which was the one below the one you got. Yeah, that's the one I think I did. I can't remember.
I think the one that I got comes with the painted minis. Yep.
So but it's nuts. And this one, I just hope it makes it in 2021. that's my hope.
True.
It's going to be close, because the pledge manager hasn't even opened yet. It's supposed to open here anytime, but they're going to keep. And they said they're going to keep. They said they're going to keep the pledge manager open for 8 months. So I don't know if that's going to make it for 2021.
Probably not 2021 then.
But I'm holding out hope that they have a lot of it already produced, because I know a lot of the videos I've watched of people playing it, it's got good components already made. So we'll see.
Right.
So
So there you have it, everyone. Those are our 11 games that we are excited for in 2021. So let's hope that they all either come out, first of all, next year or this year, and hopefully they're good, because there's nothing more disappointing than being excited for a game, especially if you backed it on Kickstarter and it ends up sucking hard ass. So that's it, everyone. Let us know what you think of these games in the comments below, and what games that you are excited for in 2021. Other than that, subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.